Okay, hello everybody. My name is Dan Norris. Welcome to today's Joint Committee of the Combined Authority. So if we could start off with the first item, which is, of course, welcome and introductions. So obviously welcome today. Alongside, obviously, myself, we also have Kevin Guy. There's Kevin over there from Bath and North East Somerset Council. Hello, Kevin. Toby Savage opposite him from South Gloucestershire. Hello, Toby. And Don Davis to my right from North Somerset Council. And we also have Craig Cheney from Bristol City Council, of course, too. Richard Bonner, I have seen Richard. There's Richard. So can I introduce Richard Bonner, who is the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership, who is a non-voting member of the Joint Committee. Now, before we move on to the main agenda items, I would like to mention that some members of the public are joining this meeting. I can see David Redwell doing exactly that, to present their statements. Just a note, please, that all the statements received have been circulated and read by committee members and are available to view on our website. I would also like to say that I believe this meeting is regrettably taking place in a very dangerous phase of the pandemic. I know some of our unit authority leaders have some concerns about that, but we need to push on. So I would ask everybody, please, to minimise the risk, obviously by wearing masks, which I can see everybody appears to be doing, so thank you so much for that. We've got the windows open as well to try and make sure there's as much air as possible, but we do need to be very cautious because obviously the new variant of the virus is transmitting very, very quickly. Okay, let's move to item 2 now, please. Apologies for absence. Apologies have been received today from Marvin Rees from Bristol City Council, and obviously it's very good to welcome Craig Cheney, who's substituting for Marvin again today. Item 3, do any members have any interests that they wish to declare, please? I'll just pause while I look round, make it absolutely certain. I'd be surprised if there were, but there aren't any, so can we record that, please? And then let's move on to item 4, the minutes of previous meetings. The minutes of the previous meetings held on the 25th of June and the 21st of September of this year, respectively, have been circulated with the meeting papers. And please note that these meetings were joint meetings of the Combined Authority Committee and the West of England Joint Committee. So today we are asked to confirm the minutes insofar as they relate to the Joint Committee. On that basis, can I ask if members are happy, please, for these minutes to be confirmed as a correct record of the meeting? And I'm looking around and I can see Don. Yep, thank you. So everybody's agreed to that. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next item is item 5. Now, I'll now give a very brief update on the situation regarding bus services, as requested at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which I attended earlier this week, and I can see Winston Dogood is here today, who chairs that committee. I have written to the Transport Minister, Baroness Veer, with Councillor Don Davies, about the loss of the government bus recovery grant. I've also written to Lib Dem and Labour MPs to grant SHAPs, as have Conservative MPs in their own right. I've had a response from the Minister who advised that the government recognises the ongoing challenges faced by operators and local transport authorities to maintain services and is currently working with the sector to understand how these might impact services after COVID recovery funding ends and what further action might be needed. These are warm words, but we need hard cash. I fear there will be irreparable damage to our bus network unless the government acts now. I will continue to press the government hard to do the right thing and confirm their continued funding support before irreversible decisions by the bus companies are taken. Okay, next item is item 6, which is items from the public. We have up to 30 minutes for this, though I hope we'll push on given the COVID challenges at the moment. So questions. 4 questions were submitted for this meeting, and as usual, details have been circulated and written answers have been sent to the questioners. And these are published in the same way as I mentioned before on the West of England Combined Authority website alongside the agenda papers. So, regards to statements, we received 5 statements and we're expecting 3 people to speak to those statements today, although they may or may not be here, and we'll check in a moment. As I mentioned earlier, we've made arrangements for some members of the public to join this meeting, to present their statements where they have specifically requested this, and up to 3 minutes per statement will be permitted today. So please, could you keep your comments within that time frame if at all possible. I'd be grateful if individuals could summarise the points they make as we read all the statements, which are also published on the website, as I've already mentioned a couple of times now. Okay, so I'm going to call the speakers in turn, and the first person on my list, because this is in order of receipt, is David Redgell, and I can see David is in his place. Are you able to use the microphone okay, David? Yep. Do you want to find one that does work? We'll wait, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thanks very much.
Thanks for that. Okay, David, off you go.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Well, first thing I just want to say is we share the deep concerns, and can I say thank you for you joining the passenger group meeting the other night in person. That was very helpful from our point of view. It is very, very worrying about the bus services across the city region. 33 routes affecting Bath, Bristol, Radstock, Midsummer, Norton, Bradley, Stoke, Filton. I think I've just about heard from everybody from town and parish councils to students' unions, including Meeting the Students' Union, are very worried about their bus service across the city, going to Parsons Street instead of the campus. I know Kevin's been doing a lot of work in Bath. Toby's doing work in South Gloucestershire, but there's a huge, huge worry out there. At the end of January, I'm meeting Doug, myself, with Alex Perry just in January to talk about some of the issues. But there's also issues facing the Stagecoach network. You've really got to get Grant Shapps to understand, and Bernice Veer, that these buses can't run on fresh air. And the fare box, this morning, they're carrying 10 people, 4 people, 20 people. They're key workers. They're required, Toby, at Yate. But if we haven't got the money to pay for them, those services won't run. And also we've got a problem with the rail carrying about the same number of people, 10, 5 or empty trains. I mean, obviously the messaging from the government is don't travel, don't go to parties, don't go out at night, and don't work from home. So that's affecting the public transport drastically. But if they do that, they've got to fund it. And that's the real message at the moment. Interchanges. Please don't call stops in Toby's area interchanges in lovely countryside, because they're not. It's a stop and a rural shelter between Bristol and Bath. We expect to change buses. That is not a shelter. That is not an interchange. Nor is Grand Parade from Larkhall and Fairfield Park, and certainly Keynsham does not have a bus station. So using Ashton Way to change buses is not acceptable. The only thing I'll make to Craig is, can we please look at using the park and ride sites as interchanges like they're doing in Salisbury? I know Toby's first to do it at Yates when it all opens, because it's all been planned like that, but we need to use the rest of them just like it, and the ones in Bath are being used partly already. So can we just look at what we've got, look at the interchange policy, and if we do have to run to interchanges, let's make sure we use the ones we've got and not just bus stops.
Just 30 seconds, please,
okay.
David.
And I do welcome the new interchange that Don is building. Just on on the issue of cross-boundary bus services, there's consultation out there at the moment on bus corridors as part of Bus Back Better. Can I just say, please, can we coordinate that? Because you've got the A37 corridor for Bristol City Council and Baines and South Gloss, all with different consultation dates on it. And that was unbelievable at the safety partnership yesterday, to have different consultation dates. So, Kevin, we need to be in line with Bristol. If that can go back urgently and look at it, and the Director of Transport's here from WECA, please. And on rail, I think the follow-through on rail, really, is just to make sure we hold Network Rail to account on delivery, because First Great Western can say all sorts of things, but they're a contractor. It's Network Rail, the government agency. We need to hold to account on delivery of Henbury Station, on delivery of Filton Station, Ashley Down, the Portishead Railway line with the Department for Transport. And I think we still need more officers for rail in WECA. And can I please say, please, please, please move all your public transport officers to Dan. They don't need to be in Bristol. They don't need to be in South Gloss. They don't need to be in Baines. And of course, we're talking to the Secretary of State, as you are, about bringing North Somerset in. That's the biggest issue for passengers and the unions, to get North Somerset Council into the West of England Combined Authority. And we've decided now to seek direct involvement in Westminster, rather than just rely on the politicians locally to make it happen.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Appreciate that. Okay, now the second person on the list of speakers is someone who I think won't be here, but I'll just check because I want to be fair. John Dalglish. Is John Dalglish here by any chance? Speak now if you are. Okay, we'll move on to the next person, which is, again, someone who I don't think is here, but we'll just check. Tay McLean-Foreman. Is Tay here, please? Okay, she won't be here in that case. The fourth person I think is meant to be here, so I just want to check. Julie Boston. Is Julie here, please? Hello, Julie.
Don, I very much welcome your leadership of the West of England Combined Authority and have every confidence. My knowledge is based on reading the Bristol Post, and I can see that you're trying to reduce the obsessive road-based policy of the previous regime and to promote buses, trains, and so on. My particular item that I've submitted, I've joined up with a few other people for Catch the Bus West of England campaign. So we're trying to promote buses, and my particular request is that all services have a 15-minute frequency. Now that is an incredibly modest request. Obviously it should be a 5-minute frequency, but unfortunately we live in a kind of car-based world, and we're not going to ask for something that might be considered unrealistic to the obsessives in the car world. Now, luckily, the local media, Bristol Post, that's the one I follow, is reporting the appalling provision on Bus 24. A whole page was devoted to the horrors of the inadequacy of Bus 24. Now, this is really a climate issue. You know, we can't breathe in Bristol anyway, but to actually not even provide a bus service that's labelled and timetabled is quite absurd. We know First profits are healthy. We know that First have got to make a profit for shareholders. We know all that, but we do need reliability, and it's also an issue of safety. The majority of passengers are women and girls, and they need to know that the bus will be there and not might be there, which is not good enough. We also, in Catch the Bus, want to promote bus and metro and, of course, trains. We have been plodding on for 26 years for a better service.
Just another 30 seconds, please.
Well, are you telling me to stop? I can't remember what you're saying.
30 seconds. Just 30 seconds, please.
Okay, right. So yesterday I had the blissful experience of going from my station, Redland, to not Seven Beach, Weston-super-Mare. It took about an hour, very tranquil. Weston-super-Mare is lovely, and then back. So good on you, stick with it, ignore all those people who are attacking you. I think it's utterly appalling. And I think certainly two of us in Friends of Suburban Bristol Railway support you.
Thank you very much, Julie, and we'll get your address so I can send you a Christmas card. And thank you for wearing that lovely T-shirt of the Friends of the Bristol Suburban Railways. Well advertised. Okay. Is Christina Biggs here, please? Christina, would you mind speaking, please?
Thank you. I'm going to sit down by the microphone, and also I'm not spreading COVID. Oh, obviously, I don't have COVID. Right. So, obviously, I'm not going to read out the very long statement I put in. If I may, I'd like to respond to the answer to my question regarding Porter's Head. The point about the Development Consent Order is that we're all baffled. Why on earth is the Secretary of State is saying he'll need a 6-month delay? Now, it doesn't have to be a 6-month delay. Now, we know about a certain person who wants to run a bus instead. That won't be an issue. I'm really worried that there's an underlying financial problem here. Now, I'm rather alarmed in your letter that you said you haven't actually sorted out the train set hire for Porter's Headline. I think that's a little bit alarming, and I do wonder, I think we need to examine our consciences here at WECA, West of England Combined Authority. Let's make sure that what we've done, it's absolutely in line. There's no excuse from DFT to say that there's any doubt about the financial footing of Porter's Headline. Let's just get on with that. sort it out. Maybe that's what they're worried about. I mean, we don't know what they're worried about because they're not telling us. It's obviously not Extinction Rebellion because they're obviously not opposing a local railway line. So just go up to London, Dan, and talk to them and say, what is going on? Tell me off the record what the problem is. Please, this is ridiculous. Second thing, I just want to say, echo what Julie said. We're so delighted about the delivery of Phase 1A. Finally, it's amazing the impact it's had. Clock face. I mean, imagine that. Clock face. After 25... What we got in 2008 was a 40-minute service. That wasn't because we asked for a 40 minutes. We'd asked for a half an hour service back in, whenever that was. So they gave us a compromise in 2008. Now we've got what we asked for 20 years ago. So we're so delighted. Third thing, when we met with you, you asked us for priority. Okay, so apart from all of that's on the plate, Metrowest Phase 1A, Phase 2, Pilning. Okay, the officers will probably sigh, they'll say Pilning's, it's middle of nowhere. It is not anywhere at the moment. It's any more middle of nowhere.
Just another 30 seconds, please.
Yes, I met a young man on the train. I go from Swansea to Bristol every week. He was on the train. He got on the train at Newport with his bike. Okay, he went on the train, Newport. He says 10 hours at least where he lives. He went all the way to Temple Meads, changed at Temple Meads, gone on the Seven Beach line to St Andrews Road, and then biked from St Andrews Road to his place of work. He could have got the train to Pilning. This is ridiculous. Seven Net are begging for it. Peter Tydek's begging. This is £2 million for a footbridge. Please just get on it. It's nothing to do with the trains because we don't need trains to London quite so much now. Please get on it. It's an existing station, absolutely obvious priority. Please. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Christine, and it's good to see you again, and thanks for your statement and for reading that. I mean, I do agree, reference that delay. Certainly is a surprise and disappointment, to say the very least, and we're already onto it, and I'm already onto it in terms of trying to get to the bottom of it and make sure that whatever's going on doesn't impact in any way detrimentally for us. And I've heard the other points, but I'll come to you, no doubt, when I meet you all again. Thank you very much indeed. So thanks to everybody who's submitted a statement today, and all the comments will have been noted where they relate to agenda items and will be taken into account by the Joint Committee today, of course. So thank you for that. Okay, the next item is item 7, comments from the Chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Board, which is known as the LEP for those who are new to this meeting. So please can I ask Richard Bonner, who is the Chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Board, to present these comments, please. Hello, Richard. You're very welcome here.
Hello, Dan. Thank you very much. Of course, we welcome the opportunity to engage and participate in the committee and the joint committee meetings, so thank you for that. I think we've reflected over the course of the last couple of months that there's a lot of complexity between both the business of the committee and the joint committee meetings, and we also reflect that, of course, this is a public forum, giving the public the opportunity to engage and understand how the governance works. So we would quite like to recommend that the business of the two meetings is conducted separately, as we are doing today. We think that's really helpful to give the public the opportunity to make more clarity or be more clear on how the two agendas work. If I could just turn to the matter of the governance review, which is included in today's papers. As members know, we did write to joint committee members with one or two concerns, and I'm glad to see that the papers have evolved and have developed. And what the papers are clear on is the complexity of the business of the Joint Committee as it's evolved over many, many different iterations. Just to be clear perhaps to the public, the West of England LEP Board has oversight on the Local Growth Fund, the Economic Development Fund and the Revolving Infrastructure Fund, and act in an advisory capacity to the West of England Joint Committee. Whilst we haven't yet been consulted about the proposed review, we do feel strongly that as a member we should have the opportunity in the future to be part of any ongoing review, and we have made some recommendations which will come up a little bit later on. I think there's a risk potentially around the review as it's proposed at the moment in a couple of different areas, one of which is the issue of the single pot. We have noted that over the last few years it's given us a lot of advantage to be able to share and collaborate across the different funding streams, and in any review we would like that approach to be considered as part of the outcome and the way forwards. It stops potentially money being handed back to government. I would also just like to make the point that the government are currently undertaking a review of LEPs. Of course, we work very closely with all the partners, particularly the Combined Authority, and we understand that the direction of travel is that the LEPs are very much likely to be more closely aligned to the Combined Authorities going forwards, and that the announcements and the updates could very well coincide with the Levelling Up agenda and the white paper which is due to be published early in the new year. So we just need to be mindful of any review as to what might happen as a consequence of that. We've made a couple of proposals for item 10, which, Dan, thank you very much. You have agreed to move those. Of course, we can't vote, but hopefully they will be adopted. If I can just turn to Invest in Bristol and Bath, which are covered in the paper. We welcome the performance review. We note the focus on the strategic sectors, including tech, professional services and the creative industries. Indeed, despite the pandemic, we have seen a real uptick in terms of the number of leads, 30%, and we've also seen the impact that it has around creating jobs, which is really important to the Local Enterprise Partnership Board. It's a valuable, very valuable support for the region and for the work of the four authorities and the Combined Authority. And at a macro level, it promotes our region nationally and also internationally, and it attracts large and strategically important businesses into the region. Recently, Channel 4 as an example, and also the work we've been doing with other partners around the potential for a gigafactory Rivian just outside our patch. Locally, at a micro level, it plays a really important part in supporting businesses to locate within the region and find them the accommodation, the support infrastructure they need. So we would just ask that in any review or strategic review, that we do consider how we can combine the work of IBB at a macro level with the Combined Authority, as well as how they work alongside the unitary authorities. Western Gateway, I think one or two of us were on the partnership board call this morning. It is clear that progress is being made, particularly around identifying a series of work streams and priorities. There are many opportunities for us as a region to collaborate, and we also want to ensure that there's no duplication of the efforts that go on within the area. I was particularly pleased to see the work and the updates we heard this morning on the STEP Fusion opportunity. We think that's very significant for our region, and we're also really pleased to see how Western Gateway are collaborating with partners in this room around how we can promote the region both internationally and nationally. It's a series of different forums, which is promising. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. And just to say about the single pot approach, that's something that the government endorses us doing as formal, I think, as well as best practice. So that is important to us. Okay, if we can move now to the next item, which is item 8, and that's comments from the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Winston Duguid. Winston, would you like to speak to us, please?
Thank you, Metro Mayor. There are 11 of us on the Scrutiny Committee, plus the 3 valued members from North Somerset. And we've established ourselves into subgroups on transport, housing and planning, and business and skills. And in fact, we've attended 2 boards on housing and planning as observers, so we're very grateful for you giving us observer status at those boards. We've attended a business and skill meeting. We've had a separate meeting with Stephen Bashford and his team on skills, and I'm hoping to attend the LEP board on January the 19th, Richard. So I'll make 1 or 2 comments that we've observed in the subgroups, but really, although it wasn't on the agenda officially of our meeting on Monday, what became quite clear, and the feedback from various networks and people telephoning me and various other ways of communication, is that transport really has taken on an even more heightened concern at this moment, and it's already been reflected in this meeting. What I'd like to do is pass over to my colleague, Ed Plowden, who's a councillor in Bristol, and he has taken on the chairmanship of this subgroup. And I think it's important we keep you up to date from where we're coming from and the, I think, good dialogue that we're having and constructive dialogue. But I'll let Ed tell you a bit more about what he plans to do and what he's doing already. Ed.
Thanks, Winston, and thanks for asking me to chair the subcommittee. Very keen to develop a productive relationship as a critical friend and try and push things forwards. And it's great to see the Mayor at the scrutiny meeting earlier this week. I'm going to go through 5 basic things now. We've already heard about the concerns about the bus service and the proposed cuts. If we're getting cuts like that in January, then we're likely to see a particularly difficult thing in April. And it may, I hear the word irreversible used a lot, and I think that's absolutely right. We could be on a critical downward spiral. We're keen to see a strategic approach, and the use of the bus service improvement plan and enhanced partnership are obviously going to be parts of that. But frankly, we accept that really government is the only, national government is the only place where we're going to see the sorts of money that we need to make sure we bridge the gap. So that was first. Secondly, we looked at the transport delivery plan. I think we need a bit more information to be able to look at that in detail. So we're talking with officers about making sure we get idea of the finances so that we know that we're looking at the most important parts. And we accept that sharing risk registers and risk analysis is a difficult thing to do, but I think it's something that we need to be have some sort of high-level oversight of, not necessarily the full thing. And just on one of those key projects, we support a bus-based approach to the Bristol-Bath corridor at the moment as part of developing a longer-term business case to try and drive up the patronage there. On rail, we agree that we need to sweat the assets, we need to improve accessibility to stations as a priority, and I echo Dave Redgewell in saying that we need to look at Network Rail and improving the capacity, particularly from the south of the signals and track. And that's not something we should be involved in, but we really do. Some of our plans will hang off of that, and we need to really keep that on the agenda. Thirdly, we looked at the CRSTS. We accept that buses is probably the most appropriate investment for that at the moment, and that seems to be where the bulk of the money is going. On the hubs, I think I echo Dave Redgewell again, that we need a clearer definition of what the actual benefits are for users, and more of a user-centred definition to what transport hubs and interchanges are. The interesting thing is that maintenance is being put into that pot, and we feel that there's an opportunity to use maintenance, start driving the changes we want to see rather than always putting back like for like. And there's also a challenging opportunity, I think, to align approaches between different unitary authorities now that that's been put into a single budget. Fourthly, on LC Whip, we really need to see a strategic network for cycling. People have talked about a tube map, but also we need to see an alignment map. That will inform many, many decisions about integrating cycling and walking into the line, some of the big investment decisions. I think on walking, we're particularly keen to see a better alignment with the high streets work. A lot of the high streets work appears to be led by economic development, but I think we all know that the access to the high street, how people get there, the transport, the parking is going to be one of the key factors. So trying to integrate those things a little bit better into the LC Whip is going to be important. Lastly, there's a paper today about better aligned priorities across the region, and I think it's absolutely right that previously there's been a bit of an impression of putting a lot of pet projects into a joint package and sending it on to government rather than trying to have a really strategic approach of clear priorities. Whilst we agree that a simplified and wider appraisal criteria are needed, it still reads a little bit like a list of pet projects rather than necessarily a sort of strategic vision and then define your projects. But I think we're onto something good, because even the Treasury says that the strategic case needs to be more important than the economic case when applying the Green Book rules. So it's a good start. Thank you.
If I could just briefly carry on, Metro. I think also out of the other subgroups, we're just wanted to flag, and I'm sure it's on the committee's mind, given the real setback of the last joint spatial plan, the spatial development strategy is on the horizon again. And as we understand it, its essential decision needs to be recorded in January, and moving the formal decisions regarding the SDS process to April 2022, as this recording will be looked at by the government inspector. And bearing in mind what happened last time, the last person we want to upset is a government inspector. So we just wanted to put that and flag it, probably already aware of it, but we're all a bit nervous behind the ears on the what happened on the Joint Spatial Plan. I think just reporting back on the agenda that we went through on Monday, nothing really to highlight that's not already been said. Feel as strongly as everyone else about the Portishead line. We did enjoy the paper from Ben Mosley. Those of us who aren't Bristol councillors didn't know who Ben Mosley was, but he wasn't a figment of someone's imagination, and we thank him for that. If he and we actually quite enjoyed his paper and the tie-up and the impact on a serious point on net zero skills, because we know that NEETs and male over 50s and BAME are particularly vulnerable. So we like that tie-up, and obviously a little more information on the impact on the GVA. So if he puts a paper like that, first time we've had a paper from someone who's not on WECA, great, no problem with that at all. But it'd be handy if he could attend, just so we could, not quiz him necessarily, but just find out a little bit more of the thinking behind it. So nothing really more to add, Metro Mayor, and thank you for allowing Councillor Plowden to explain in a bit more detail about transport.
Thank you ever so much, Winston, not just for your report today, but for the work you do. I know it takes a lot of time and effort and skill, so we are appreciative of that. And thank you, Ed, for contributing today. Very good of you to do so. I just want to highlight the fact that obviously we've received your written comments, Winston, from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and copies of that have been circulated and are available on the website, alongside the committee agenda papers in the usual way. And I also know, just a slight point, I also know that you asked for more performance delivery reports. I think that was one of the key things that you were pushing for. And can I just say, I'll obviously work at bringing more to committee. I want you to know that I read these things too, and try and take notice of what you're asking. Okay, let's now move to the reports before us today, please. Firstly, item 9, which is the West of England Joint Committee Governance and Voting Arrangements. So to start off with, this report is about voting arrangements at joint committee meetings for those of us who are streaming in or who are in the room and don't know about these things. And the report is for the joint committee's information, and there is no decision to be taken today. Before I ask the joint committee if they wish to formally note the report, do any members wish to comment, please? Toby, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I very much welcome this report and the essential clarification of this matter, and that we are going to follow this item with the equally necessary consideration for a more comprehensive governance review for the operation of this joint committee. The 4 unitary authorities making up the West of England have long recognised and have long been recognised as a robust and high-value functional economic market area. It's why we have so many legacy funding arrangements that predate the creation of WECA. And it's important for our residents that we have governance that is robust and recognises the democratic mandate across unitary authority leaders, and of course the inclusion of North Somerset as part of that West of England region, alongside the relationship with the combined authority. So welcome the report and happy to note it.
Thank you, Toby. Is anybody else wishing to contribute? Kevin? Sorry, so I thought you were moving to go. Okay. Don, anything you want to say? Okay, thank you very much, Toby, for your comments and of course. Now, I've read the report and just to be clear, I vote with my conscience, as do the other politicians here, I should add. And it's the government's rules, the Constitution and lawyers as well, who deem how my vote as Metro Mayor counts. And if in effect it has a power veto, that's not me, it's the way the system has been set up. I voted against Councillor Savage's airport amendment to remove wording on opposing the airport expansion. And at the time, the West of England Combined Authority Monitoring Officer had told the Joint Committee that my vote meant the amendment was lost, i.e. I had a form of veto, I suppose. After this meeting, she subsequently changed her mind. So I simply say, well, I will of course keep voting. The lawyers will deem how it is counted, and I will therefore not be formally noting the report, but I obviously hear what Toby has said. So I now therefore ask other members present here today, leaders here today, if they wish to note the report. And of course, there won't be a formal vote on the matter. Is everybody happy to note the report in the way suggested? Yes, yes, thank you. Toby, you're noting the report, yes, I take it? Yes, sorry, I didn't see it, you indicate. Thank you very much. Let's now move, that's been noted then, let's now move to the next item, item 10, please. Item 10 is the Joint Committee Governance Review. This report has been produced through the unitary authorities, and I have to say that I believe this is the wrong report at the wrong time. The government are planning a review of the local enterprise partnerships, known as LEPs, that Richard Bonner referred to earlier, and all the mood music coming from Whitehall is that it's the government's intention to combine them more deeply into the combined authorities. We're also awaiting, of course, the government's Levelling Up white paper, which will be hugely important. Was due to be around already, but is now being expected in January, so hopefully it will come through then. And I'm most concerned that the local enterprise partnership was not consulted. I oppose plans that move away from the single pot approach, which would see us having less financial flexibility. The flexibility is vitally important if we want to avoid sending money back to government, and I'm sure all the leaders here are absolutely as determined as me in wanting to ensure that monies that come to our region don't go back to government but do good in our region. So please can I ask if any committee member wishes to move the report's recommendations, please. Is there a mover, sorry? Toby, sorry I missed you there, Toby, apologies.
Yep, happy to propose the recommendations, Chair, and I do have some comments to make if you could let me,
of course, I'll let you
let me know when the appropriate time is.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder, please?
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to second.
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much. Do you wish to speak now or later, Kevin?
I'll reserve my right to speak later.
Okay. Okay. As per the comments made by Richard Bonner a moment ago, I would like to move an amendment to this report. The amendment is as follows. I'd like to amend recommendation 2 to read, and please bear with me as I read this out with a mask on, to implement a review into the governance and administration of the Joint Committee's funding streams and to commission the Chief Executives and Monitoring Officers of the 4 unitary authorities to work with the LEP Board and the CEO to review the administrative arrangements for Joint Committee's investment sources, including the Local Growth Fund, known as the LGF, the Economic Development Fund, known as the EDF, and the Revolving Infrastructure Fund, known as the RIF, or RIF, having regard to the advantages of the single pot approach and flexibility across funding programmes. Recommendations from the review to be formally reported to the LEP Board and then to Joint Committee. I hope I've read that well enough for people to grasp that. Is there a seconder for that amendment, please? Thank you very much, Don. Okay. Would other committee members like to speak to the amendment, please? Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, more than happy to support that. That's a very sensible amendment, and I welcome the LEP's contribution in developing the governance process. So thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. And then, sorry, Toby, come on in.
Yeah, in terms of the amendment, Chair, similarly, very supportive of it. I think it just puts into writing something that was already going to be done in any event, and which is referenced within the body of the main report, albeit not in the recommendations. Yeah, very keen that we work with LEP colleagues and partners to continue the successful regional working that has been a hallmark of the West of England for many, many years.
Okay, thank you, Toby, for your contributions. Anybody else want to come in?
I need to say I welcome it too. Nothing more to add than that hasn't already been said.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Okay, in that case, I shall now move to the voting on the amendment. Will those in favour of the amendment please show now? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, Right. As the amendment was carried then, it now becomes the substantive motion, of course, before us. So please can I now take a vote on the revised recommendations, including the amendment? Will all those in favour please vote?
Chair,
Sorry, do you want to speak, Toby?
If I could comment on the
course.
substantive motion that we're now being
Apologies,
asked to vote on, please, thank you. So I suppose going back to the comments that I made on our previous item, I very much welcome this review and a renewed commitment to collaborative working and efficient decision making. I think we do need to provide some clarity to the Constitution and ensure that there is an equal representation on matters affecting the wider West of England, including the respective legacy funds, but also the priorities and deliverables from our shared services, such as Invest, Bristol and Bath. And I look forward to seeing the recommendations of this review. I would also just pick up on one comment that you made, Chair, in introducing this item about the LEP not being consulted on this report in advance of today. We did have email confirmation from Richard as the Chair of LEP on the 10th of December that the LEP Chief Executive had shared the paper with him, and that there had been a discussion with business board members in advance of this report coming today. So just important just to clarify that point, please, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Toby. I mean, I just want to say, Toby, that when I spoke to Richard Bonner, when I was aware of it, Richard didn't know anything about it. So he may have been subsequently told, but it wasn't the case when I first approached him, having become aware myself. So let's be clear about that, please.
As I said, Chair, it's in writing from Richard.
Okay, fine. Thank you for that. Okay, in that case, can I now ask people, please, to... Sorry. Yeah, okay, sorry, Alex. I shall now move to the vote in that case. All those in favour of the motion as amended, please show. Okay, and any against? Okay, and that's carried 4-1. Okay, can we now move, please, to the next item, item 11. This item is the Local Enterprise Partnership and Invest Bristol and Bath Budget Outturn, April to October 2021. This report presents the forecasted revenue outturn for the West of England Joint Committee for the financial year 2021-22, based on data for the period April 21 to October 21. The report covers the Local Enterprise Partnership and Invest Bristol and Bath revenue budgets, and also includes a high-level overview of performance of the Invest Bristol and Bath service. The report is for the Joint Committee's information, and therefore there are no decisions to be taken. Before I ask the Joint Committee to formally note the report, do any members wish to comment, please? Craig.
Yeah, if I may. So, absolutely welcome the report, but would like to request that we get some more regular updates on this. I think something more quarterly would be really helpful for us. Welcome the news that between April and October, IBB generated 246 active leads, which is a 30% increase on the same period a year ago. We know that the majority of the focus has been on high-tech, professional service and creative industries, which accounts for around 65% of the leads. This is positive, but it would be good to review the approach to ensure we're doing all we can to attract investment in emerging industries. But also, as part of the IBB review a few years ago, there was an agreement to try and attract jobs at different entry levels, and in order to create these kind of broader opportunities and a bit more inclusion. And you don't get that from the report, so it'll be good to see that in future.
Thanks very much, Craig. Does anyone else wish to speak to this, please? Toby?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Very much echo Craig's comments about more regular updates on performance. That would be much appreciated. But turning to the report itself, very much welcome the update, which I think further demonstrates the depth of the funding streams that come through the LEP and West of England channels that are joint committee matters, and will benefit from a renewed and robust governance amongst the 5 leaders. And I'm pleased in particular as a South Gloucestershire councillor to read about the support for sustainable aviation. South Gloucestershire and the wider West of England takes great pride in its pioneering role in the development of this industry. And indeed, as we talked about when we debated the Bristol airport motion. And we know that the wider supply chain and sector benefits across digital, engineering and advanced manufacturing are enormous. And indeed, through the motion on Bristol Airport that we agreed, we made that commitment to continue to support and drive investment in this sector. And I would welcome further briefings on the ongoing process and progress against that commitment. And noting, Chair, that we will shortly be moving on to an update on the Western Gateway, and particularly exciting opportunity for us with the Seven Edge Step Fusion nomination, and very much welcome the references to our partnership working with the nuclear industry in this report. So important for us here in the Southwest and our economic future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toby. Kevin, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, welcome this report wholeheartedly. Particularly like to make draw people's attention to the Green Homes Grant, which is so very important. I'd like to talk later on about the importance of connecting our green recovery to our economic recovery, which is so crucial at the moment. But yeah, fully welcome this report, and that it's a closer working relationship with the LEP moving forward is crucial. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That's appreciated. Don, did you want to say anything? Okay, thank you very much. Well, in that case, can I thank everybody who's made comments on this item? Can I please, therefore, ask members to formally note the report as per the recommendations? Just checking. Great, that's everybody. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next item is item 12, the Local Growth Getting Building Funds, Economic Development Fund and Revolving Infrastructure Fund change requests. Now, this report, despite its snazzy title, seeks approval of the latest schemes changes requests in relation to these funds, and also seeks approval of the updated West of England Local Growth Assurance Framework, which has been updated to reflect the latest government guidance. I now move the report recommendations. Can I please call for a seconder? Is there a seconder? Thank you very much, Don. Would you like to speak now or reserve your comments?
I'll speak very briefly now. Thank you, Dan. I mean, this just demonstrates the joint committee in action, doesn't it, of getting the cash out to the schemes we want to do and thoroughly reviewing what we need to change to make sure we properly deliver. There's a couple of schemes for North Somerset, but I appreciate the ones for the other three authorities, and I think that this just shows we do things. So I'm happy to support your proposal, and I'll look to colleagues to make their own comments about their own authorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. That's appreciated. I would now ask members who'd like to speak to the item. Craig, please come in.
So we also welcome the report and welcome the change request, Temple Quarter in particular. Unlocking the regeneration of Temple Quarter will be absolutely key to the region's economic recovery. It goes hand in hand with our commitment to sustainable growth in the context of the climate and ecological emergencies, supporting regeneration and delivery of homes on brownfield sites and linking investment to decarbonise development. Temple Quarter will unlock 10,000 homes, 22,000 jobs, and adds 1.6 billion a year to the city region economy. And we just want to take this opportunity to thank fellow West of England leaders for their support for the project and look forward to making further progress in 2022 and attracting a bit more government investment for the scheme.
Thank you, Craig. Does anyone else wish to speak? Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Yeah, this is a good example of working together and how, as a team of local authorities within the combined authority, we can draw down the right funds and spend it in a strategic way that benefits everybody. So particularly when it comes to regeneration of our high streets and spending money there, and making sure that our rural market towns as well get that regeneration. And Keynsham is a great example of that. So I welcome this report and thank everybody for working so hard to get it through. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you very much, Kevin. Don, do you want to say anything else? No, thank you very much. Well, at my own... Oh, sorry. Come in, Toby.
Thank you, Chair. I would just in particular like to focus my comments on the change request for the Umbrella Internet of Things test bed, which we launched at an event at UE in October. Umbrella, for those who don't know, is a powerful digital platform with connected sensors and processes that can be accessed from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And this provides an open development network with an endless range of potential applications and uses. And its aim is to provide an open platform for the testing and evaluation of innovation in areas such as robotics, wireless communications, smart city, and the general Internet of Things in a real-world environment. It is a world first for us here in the west of England and South Gloucestershire, and is notably already leveraging many other opportunities and funding programmes and getting some really good international recognition. So I very much welcome the inclusion of this within the report today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Toby. And it's great to have things that put our region on the national and international map for sure, wherever they come from within the west of England. My own view on this item is, above all, it's about prioritising delivery, and I know you will also agree with that. I'm unhappy that we simply keep voting through sometimes change requests, that happens, and I will in future seek to bring delivery reports so that we can get to the root causes of delay, because the key thing is that we keep thrusting forward, keep delivering above all else, and we don't lag in any way. We are competing with other parts of the country, and the only way we do that effectively is to make sure that we push forward where it's reasonable, obviously, at all times. Okay, thank you very much for your comments. I shall now move to the voting. There are different voting arrangements here, so please note that as Metro Mayor, I do not have a vote on recommendations 2 and 4. So, therefore, can I firstly take a vote now on recommendations 1 and 3 as set out where I have a vote? So, those in favour, please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. And then can I please take a vote now on recommendations 2 and 3, if I can speak properly, as set out. Sorry, 2 and 4, let's get that right. Thank you, Patricia. On recommendations 2 and 4 as set out where I do not have a vote. So those in favour, please. Okay, that's carried unanimously by the 4 that can vote. Thank you very much. That's carried. Okay, the next item is item 13, Metrowest Phase 1B Portishead Line update. Now, this report provides a worrying update on progress on the delivery of Metrowest Phase 1B, the Portishead Line, the delay to the development consent order, and the steps being taken to mitigate that delay. The report is for the Joint Committee's information, and there is no decision to be made. Before I ask the Joint Committee to formally note the report, do any members wish to comment, please? Don, I'm not surprised to hear that.
Well, as the ward councillor for the longest stretch of the line in his ward, I suppose it's incumbent on me to make some comments. I guess, being incredibly parochial, the contrast between the time it took to get the freight line open, with considerable public support, compared to this for the passenger line is desperately frustrating to the residents of North Somerset and indeed beyond, and the fact it prevents the easy movement of people to and from some pretty significant areas of population. The report is for noting. I would say that I thank the officers at both North Somerset Council and at WECA for the very hard work they've done throughout the project, and indeed following up from some of the queries that have come from pins around the delay. It's very unusual that myself and the MP for North Somerset, Dr. Liam Fox, are in agreement on policy, but this is one area in which we are both speaking with a single voice. I think we are all incredibly frustrated about delivery. The phrase shovels in the ground seems to have disappeared somewhat from government rhetoric of late, but actually this is shovel-ready, this project, and we just want to get on with it and deliver a far greener means of getting around for people. So I hope my colleagues will possibly not share my direct pain because of the personal benefits to my residents, but I think they will share the pain in the sense that we are incredibly ambitious as a region to deliver on transport, and indeed the comments from colleagues on scrutiny have made very clear, and indeed members of the public speaking today on public transport delivery, and for this to be delayed even more, and we're very much aware of the cliff edge impacts of no decision mid-January, the fact even further delay, is just incredibly upsetting, I think. We're ready there. We've spent an awful lot of money and effort so far to get where we are, and to have some completely unexplained, because of, there's a group of aliens potentially who are going to land and issue a judicial review, because nobody else seems to be interested in doing that, just seems to me to be frightening. And I do note the report, and I hope you will note our joint frustration. So thank you everybody for their support on this, and let's look forward to trains running.
Thank you, John. Before I bring anyone else in, I share your frustration and dismay, and obviously we work very closely on this together. There's not a cigarette paper between us on this, Don, so thank you for all the hard work you're doing, and you and I will keep our efforts up along with others to do our very best to try and get this back on track. Okay, Kevin, were you wanting to speak? I thought I saw you indicate, sorry.
No, I'll just reiterate what Don said, and obviously anything we can do in Bath and North East Somerset to help you get over the line with this, we will lend every hand that we can.
That's a generous offer. Thank you very much, Kevin. Anyone else? No. Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. And please, can I now ask members if they wish to note the report as per the recommendation? Okay, I can see everybody indicating that, so that is noted. Thank you very much indeed. The next item is item 14, the West of England investment priorities. Now, this report has been produced through the 4 unitary authorities. While some of this report details funding which includes North Somerset, a good deal of it is investment fund money which is combined authority only. Please can I ask if any committee member wishes to move the report recommendation, please? Don, okay, you're moving. Okay, thank you very much. And can I please ask for a seconder? Thank you, Kevin. Would you like to speak now, Kevin, or later? Okay, thank you very much. I'll now ask members to speak to the item. Who would wish to speak to this? Don, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the efforts that have gone into producing this report. Yes, politics aside, we are all the leaders and mayors of the West of England economic area, and I think we are, almost like repeating myself from the previous item, extremely ambitious about delivery, and clearly there are some challenges we need to make to each other about what we actually deliver. And of course the other thing is, again repeating myself, we're also very determined to increase the pace of delivery of our infrastructure investments across the piece. So I think we are very keen to look at the area as a whole, and I do respect the comments you make about the West of England Combined Authority as a separate body within this. But to get a joint delivery plan for infrastructure projects across the region as a whole, and indeed previous items have demonstrated that in some small way. We have to recognise that there are clearly different views on how that funding should be spent. It's a limited pot, clearly. But I think we do have to, and I think this is the essence of the report, have to have a greater coherence in that decision making, so it's very clear not only to ourselves, but perhaps more importantly for members of the public looking on, and indeed business looking on, as to what we're actually trying to achieve. So the report sets out an illustrative set of opportunities and priorities for investment across the whole of the West of England economic region, and also reflects, how much is going on, because I think probably all 5 of us could talk, probably ad nauseam for members watching, about all the various things we're trying to do within our own direct areas, but it's pretty important to get some key principles and get key projects, and I think possibly we have not been as good as we could have been in the past around that prioritisation, make sure the principles and projects are there, and also I think also being honest with each other about the level of investment required. You alluded to that, Dan, earlier, didn't you, in terms of some of the requests for extra money for some projects, and some of those are within our control, and some of them are outside our control. But we need to be clear, and absolutely that delivery comment, I think I really do appreciate. So I think we want to deliver as leaders of this economic area an accelerated scale-up delivery plan for these priorities, and we have the right processes in place to ensure they actually move forward. So I feel like I've repeated myself from the rail one, but I think we have the power as us 4 leaders and WECA to have that within our own control, and the things that we can do to make sure we deliver as quickly. And clearly, while we're in this COVID environment, it's not an excuse not to deliver. We have to do business as usual as well as the COVID stuff. So I think I'll stop talking now because I know others want to come in. But thank you for the motion and thanks for the paper.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Who else would like to speak, please? Kevin.
Oh, go on. Okay. All right. Well, Craig. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. So yeah, so absolutely welcome to paper too. I just wanted to comment on the kind of green infrastructure and skills aspect. So meeting net zero will require fundamental shifts across all areas of the economy, including transport, power, industry and the natural environment. Green skills encompass the expertise that we need to develop and support a sustainable society. The Green Skills Report identifies the jobs our region requires to help us meet that net zero target. Analysis by Acuity found that for the region to meet net zero by 2030, more than 50,000 new jobs will be required. We need to invest in the green infrastructure that will create these jobs. In order to retain and attract investment, we need to be able to demonstrate that we have assessed the risk and have an adaptation to plan in order to reduce the economic shock of an extreme weather event, but also to provide investor confidence. We need WECA to lead on a systematic approach to understanding climate resilience and how the inevitable impacts of a changing climate will disproportionately impact on individuals, groups and businesses. We welcome the creation of the Green Recovery Fund. This now needs to be effectively programmed to ensure the investment is deployed effectively to help address the challenge of the climate emergency and enable sustainable development. This includes investment in flood defence and prevention. We need to invest in new and upgraded engineering solutions combined with green infrastructure to reduce the region's exposure to flooding and increase sea levels as a result of climate change and extreme weather events. Flood defence could take the form of a green space that provides additional wildlife and recreation benefits every day to address both the climate emergency and severe ecological decline, and we are seeking to incorporate biodiversity improvements into the river corridor. To ensure housing delivery through the SDS process, we need to free up key brownfield sites such as St Philip's Marsh through flood mitigation. Government stresses their commitment to a brownfield first approach, and thousands of homes and jobs and the resilience of our city region economy are contingent on appropriate flood infrastructure. In addition to this, the unitary authorities are seeking WECA support in building the demand for green services jobs as well as accelerate domestic retrofit, specifically for low-income households. Green infrastructure has many purposes and outcomes that both reduce carbon emissions by uncovering active travel and by planting trees, and mitigate for the effects of climate change, providing habitats, green spaces, flood protection, etc. We want to see a range of exemplary projects across the region, such as the Bath Riverline project that will generate all of the outcomes above. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Craig. Appreciate that. Kevin, you kindly gave way, so Craig can speak. Please come in.
Thank you very much, Dan. Yeah, this is a great example, and Don knocked the nail on the head earlier. We together, collectively, we need to work out great strategic plans for how we can benefit everybody. But obviously there's always an air of something that benefits one area more than others. But the great thing about coming together and talking and negotiating is we can iron out those issues and we can move over the line. And the key point that was mentioned earlier is about delivery. And it's not just us talking in a room, because a lot of people just see politicians talking. It's about us getting things actually done on the ground and delivered. And this particular paper is all about us getting things done and delivered. And I welcome everyone's support with regards to the Milsom Quarter redevelopment. And there's obviously a key part of this about getting things done is the digital acceleration, particularly for our rural connectivity. That is so important for everybody. And that is another way that we can benefit all of our residents across each region and across the boundaries, and these invisible boundaries that nobody really sees apart from a sign saying welcome to South Gloucestershire or welcome to Baines, but most people don't pay any attention to them. So yeah, I welcome this report, and I welcome everybody's collaborative efforts to getting this over the line. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Is anybody else? Toby.
Thank you, Chair, and I wanted to focus my comments around transport across the region, and I think we all agree that we need to make a transformational approach to transport regionally if we are to truly tackle the climate emergency and to help people move around more sustainably and to deliver an inclusive recovery. And a green recovery must include a focus on driving forward our work on mass transit in the region. And we want to position the Strategic Corridors programme as the first step towards mass transit. As we all know, government has allocated the West of England a 5-year, £540 million funding settlement through the city region's sustainable transport settlement. And that's to invest in our local transport network, to improve the range of sustainable transport options. And we want to ensure that we work together effectively to ensure that this funding can deliver for us the greatest possible returns. And we have ambitious plans for sustainable and active travel options, but we accept, particularly in our rural communities, that many people still have no alternative to the private car. So we do need to continue to progress strategic park and ride provision around the west of England. We welcome the funding for the development of Charfield Station as an example of a rural community, and that will provide for better connectivity for residents between Bristol and Gloucester, and providing significant regional benefits that aligns with the Western Gateway's subnational transport body's rail strategy. We also want to promote active and sustainable travel with a focus on commuter routes to and within towns and city centres, and that includes links between Clevedon and Yatton, as well as the final section of the North Somerset coastal route from Clevedon to Portishead. And as we've heard already from Don, you know, a huge part of this is about delivering Metrowest, you know, the 2 new stations at Pill and Portishead, and the reopening of that disused line for a new service that can transform the options that people have to be able to travel around the region in lower carbon ways. So thank you very much, Chair. I welcome the report.
That's great. Thank you. Kev. Yes, please do, Richard.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I think that we've demonstrated that the business community through the LEF have been able to help to support and help with the prioritisation, and also provide some of the activity to drive this forward. And it's really vital that we see these programmes being brought forward in a strategised way that is prioritised. So we welcome any work that will help to do that. And I think my reflections are that, you know, we're going to have 800-900 million or so pounds worth of investment to spend and deliver over the next 5 years. So being able to work our way through that in a very assured way is going to be really important. But the benefits of doing so are going to be really positive for our region.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Is there anybody else who wants to comment before I say a few words, please? Okay, well, look, I'm totally in favour of us talking about investment and driving our investment priorities forward, because that is key. And I think there's a bit of divergence, so I want to just say a couple of things to try and get us on course so that we meet those important tests of spending that money wisely and well, so that we can not only do a good job in the use of that money, but we can attract even more funding in future, because it's all part of a process. We all have to kind of keep getting that right trajectory. Now, Don aside, because Don wasn't at the meeting, 2 weeks ago, the leaders here, obviously not Craig but Marvin at the time, we discussed the West of England Combined Authority Investment Fund, and the 3 unitary authority leaders agreed on a way forward at that meeting. And I've since written to the Combined Authority leaders to lay out how we can agree on the headroom in the investment fund prior to agreeing how to spend it. So for those who are not familiar with some of these terms, basically working out how much money have we got so that we know what we can spend. And I've also invited the 3 leaders to a meeting to discuss this so-called headroom in the first week of January. And then, when agreement is hopefully reached, to a second meeting later in January to hammer out how exactly this is spent, because, you know, time is of the essence. We've got these resources, we need to use them and make a difference. That's then, in my view, is the appropriate time to talk about the principles and everything else, safe in the knowledge that we know exactly how much hard-earned taxpayers' money we actually have to spend. Okay, that's all I have to say on that, please. So I will now thank you, first of all, for all your comments, and then I'll now move to the voting, if I may, please. Please, could you now vote on the amendment as set out? Those in favour, please show. Oh, there hasn't been a amendment. I'm going mad here. Sorry. In that case, it's just the main motion. Apologies. That's what happens when you read scripts and are breathing heavily under a mask, unfortunately. In that case, those in favour of the main motion, please show. Thank you very much. And those against? Okay, that's it. Fine. Thank you very much. That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, and then can we move to the final item for this meeting today, which is the Western Gateway update. This report provides an update on the Western Gateway, and the report is for the Joint Committee's information, and there is no decision to be taken. Before I ask Joint Committee to formally note this report, do any members wish to comment on it? Toby, please come in.
Chair, thank you very much. I'm delighted to see us formally and publicly recognising the role of the Western Gateway Powerhouse at this meeting today. And as the leader of South Gloucestershire Council, I'm particularly proud that we play host to the Secretariat and the accountable body for Western Gateway, and pleased to currently serve as one of the two vice chairs over the last 12 months or so, along with my counterpart councillor Jane Mudd from Newport City Council. And the Western Gateway's got a prominent role to play in delivering our shared agenda alongside the government's agenda for levelling up and connecting the union. And I'm genuinely excited, in particular, for the role that step fusion prototype plants can play for the future at the Albury power station site. And that, of course, is linked with a science park and skills offer at Berkeley. And I think we've got a really compelling technical case with a large swathe of land at Albury, previously policy designated for nuclear use. And we have a local population which understands and appreciates the pioneering legacy of nuclear fission at Albury and Berkeley, and a widespread recognition that fusion technology could have a significant role to play in the long-term response to the climate emergency. Now, we have an enormous active supply chain coming off the back of the Hinkley Point C work. We've got motorway, port and rail connections within easy reach of the site. And we, of course, are already investing in the Severn Estuary flood defences, working with LEP colleagues, Bristol City colleagues and the Environment Agency on that. But this isn't just about the enormous offer that the West of England has, but it's also about the commuter zone for the sites that we have, making up hundreds of thousands of residents, including a number of the Priority 1 areas for levelling up, and that includes Gloucester, the Forest of Dean, Newport, Cardiff, Neath and Port Talbot, and many thousands of those residents are, of course, crossing the River Severn daily. 46% of the UK steel industry is in South Wales and can play a major role in the construction and legacy of this project. And then we have the UK's prime source of lithium down in Cornwall, which is essential to the operation of the fission process, and again will offer investment in Priority 1 communities for levelling up. So I look forward to continuing to work with Catherine Bennett as the chair of the Western Gateway and all the partners involved in that project as the UK AEA assessment continues. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, thank you very much, Toby. Would anyone else wish to speak, please? Craig.
Yeah, I will if I can. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Toby said, really, it's great to have the opportunity to speak about this and to see this on the agenda today. We've obviously been on this journey for a while now, and to see it pass through the various gateways, as I think, pardon the pun, the various gateways along the journey, it's been very, it's just very exciting. I think the Western Gateway offers a really exciting opportunity for Bristol and the wider region to collaborate with authorities outside of our region and indeed parts of Wales. Across the Severn Estuary and beyond, our cities and rural communities have problems in common that need a combined solution. The aim of this partnership is to use our combined strengths to promote our area at the highest levels and help deliver for the 4.4 million people who live here. An independent economic review highlighted that our combined area could be providing at least an extra £34 billion for the UK economy each year by 2030. And it also showed the significant strengths in advanced mechanics and cyber that we share across the region. Ranking high for innovation, we have world-leading tech manufacturing and cyber clusters right on our doorstep. The report also highlighted the natural resources and expertise in our area as proof of the role we can play in transitioning the UK towards a green recovery, towards green energy, sorry. The Western Gateway Partnership has huge potential to further boost local innovation and to draw in the ongoing investment we need as a city and a region. Very exciting.
Thank you very much, Craig. Kevin, would you like to come in?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo exactly what's just been said as well. I feel it's a very timely opportunity to formally present the role of the key priorities of the Western Gateway Powerhouse Partnership, as the West of England Joint Committee recognises that each of the 5 organisations that are represented on the board by the mayors and the leaders The Western Gateway is the UK's first pan-regional powerhouse to span the border of 2 countries which cover from Swansea across to Swindon. The partnership is chaired by Catherine Bennett as an independent business chair and brings obviously the important contributions of the local business community. Western Gateway partners are united around a shared goal of achieving carbon net zero and creating a sustainable, levelled up economy that all our communities can benefit from. So I welcome the introduction of this paper and formally recognising the Western Gateway. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay, Don, please come in.
Thank you. Yes, so North Somerset are very keen members of the whole Western Gateway concept, the ability to deliver at size for business infrastructure. Indeed, the way people live across 2 countries, I think, is unique of all the powerhouses, and we look forward to further developments. There seems to be significant support in government for the Western Gateway project, as indeed there is among the local authorities and the business community, and we look forward to the delivery and the funding that comes with that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Don. And Richard, do you want to comment? Sorry. No? Okay. Sorry, I saw you nod. Okay. Well, look, thank you very much for your contributions. I mean, what I'd simply say is that we need to be looking outward, reaching outward to build alliances and networks that benefit our communities in the west of England and in North Somerset. It's really, really important. And I'm also somebody who believes strongly in the union in our nation. So I think anything that builds bridges across national boundaries is good too. So, okay, thank you for all your comments. Please can I now ask members if they want to formally note the report as per the recommendation, please. So can I just check? Everybody's nodding and formally noting that, including me. So thank you very much. That brings us to the meeting close. So look, thank you ever so much for everybody, members of the public, officers and the leaders for being here today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your contributions, leaders. With masks on, it isn't easy. I'm kind of breathing faster than I normally would. I'm sure you're doing the same, but I thought we were able to be clearly heard despite all the challenges, so thank you so much. So can I wish you all a happy Christmas, and above all, a safe Christmas, and obviously a successful New Year, and I look forward to all seeing you very soon. Thank you very much.